15 Inspiring Women Who Changed the World. PT 2. Women make the world go round. And while we love to celebrate their achievements during Women's History Month in March, it's extra important to keep that support going every other day of the year, too. That's why we're sharing the stories of 38 fantastic women from the History Makers Year. Familiar with two lesser-known names you should have on your radar. Women have set records in nearly every industry and area of life. So, this list includes Olympians, Oscar winners, politicians, scientists, and leaders of all kinds. These change-making women are bound to inspire you. María Elena Salinas, 1954. Heralded as the voice of Hispanic America by the New York Times. María Elena Salinas is the first leading woman to receive a Lifetime Achievement Emmy. She had a 36-year run at Univision, an American Spanish-language TV company, as well as her own investigative series, The Real Story. Upon leaving Univision in 2017, Salinas said, "I am grateful for having had the privilege to inform and empower the Latino community through the work my colleagues and I do with such passion." In 2022, Salinas joined ABC News as a contributor. Read her autobiography, I Am My Father's Daughter, here. Mahalia Jackson, 1911 to 1972. Powerhouse singer Mahalia Jackson is hailed as the Queen of Gospel. And while music fans are familiar with songs and hymns such as Go Tell It on the Mountain and Take My Hand, Precious Lord, what you may not know is that Jackson played a significant role in the March on Washington in 1963. Not only was she a good friend of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. as seen in Selma, but she was also the inspiration behind Dr. King's iconic I Have a Dream speech. Advisor Clarence Jones reportedly said that it was Jackson who yelled, "Tell them about the dream, Martin." Watch Danielle Brooks become Jackson in the documentary Robin Roberts Presents. Mahalia. Judith Heumann, 1947. A longtime disability rights advocate, Heumann contracted polio at age 2 and has used a wheelchair ever since. At age 5, Heumann school deemed her a fire hazard and wouldn't let her attend studying Heumann. On the path to fight for increased accessibility and rights. She was the first teacher in New York to use a wheelchair after successfully suing the Board of Education. Protested for the passage of the Rehabilitation Act, advised Presidents Clinton and Obama, and has pushed for the globalization of disability rights. Learn more about Heumann in the documentary Crip Camp and in her memoir, Affer Manley 1897 to 1981. During a time when sports predominantly consisted of white male owners and athletes, Affer Manley refused to subscribe to gender and racial stereotypes. Along with her husband, Abe, Manley co-owned the Newark Eagles, a baseball team in the Negro Leagues. The team won the Negro League World Series in 1946, and when Eve died in 1952, she became the sole owner. Manley was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2006, the first and only woman to have this honor. Her life is chronicled in the picture book She Loved Baseball. Constance Baker Motley, 1921 to 2005. Constance Baker Motley has a long list of historic achievements. In 1964, she became the first African-American woman to serve in the New York State Senate. She then became the first woman to be Manhattan Borough President. In 1966, she became the first black female federal judge. Motley won significant civil rights victories in the U.S. Supreme Court, like writing the original complaint in Brown v. Board of Education and representing Dr. King. Motley also paved the way for Ketanji Brown Jackson, the very first black woman to sit on the U.S. Supreme Court. Read more about Motley in the 2022 biography Civil Rights Queen, Anna Julia Cooper, 1858 to 1964. Celebrated as one of the most prominent black scholars and feminists in the 19th and 20th centuries. Anna Julia Cooper was a beacon for racial progress among African Americans. In 1892, she published her first book and manifesto, A Voice from the South. She's the only woman of color ever to be quoted in the current edition of the U.S. passport. It reads, "The cause of freedom is not the cause of a race or a sect, a party or a class. It is the cause of humankind, the very birthright of humanity." The Anna Julia Cooper Center, which was established in 2012, now continues her mission of intersectional scholarship. Hazel Dorothy Scott 1920 to 1981. The Trinidadian jazz singer was a legend for her ability to play two pianos at the same timbre. Keys even paid homage by doing the same at the 2019 Grammys. Scott was a musical prodigy who caught the attention of a professor at the Juilliard School in New York at age 8. The celebrated classical pianist also performed on Broadway, had several small cameos in films, and was the first Black woman to host her own TV show, The Hazel Scott Show, which aired for a few months in 1950 before Scott was blacklisted during the Red Scare. Even though the show was canceled, she was applauded for her testimony. The actors, musicians, artists, composers, and all of the men and women of the arts are eager and anxious to help, to serve. Our country needs us more today than ever before. We should not be written off by the vicious slanders of little and petty men. Jeannette Rankin, 1880 to 1973. Rankin was the first woman, and one of the few suffragists, elected to Congress. Though she is applauded today, her decision to vote against U.S. participation in World War I and World War II was met with disapproval at the time. After her election in 1916, she said, "I may be the first woman member of Congress, but I won't be the last." And she was right. In 2023, there are a record number of women in Congress. Florence Griffith Joyner 1959 to 1998. Though her life was tragically cut short at the age of 38, Olympic sprinter Florence "Flo-Jo" Griffith Joyner's record remains undefeated. She is considered the fastest woman of all time. The records she set in 1988 for the 100-meter and 200-meter dashes still stand today. In 2018, Byung honored Griffith's athletic ability and coveted style. She was famous for her long nails on Halloween. Katherine Johnson 1918 to 2020. No longer a hidden figure. Katherine Johnson's famous mathematical computation launched astronaut John Glenn into orbit in 1962, and later sent Apollo 11 to the moon, were finally highlighted in the 2016 movie Hidden Figures. She was portrayed by Taraji P. Henson. In 2015, Johnson received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from Barack Obama, following her death at the age of 101. In 2021, Northrop Grumman named a spacecraft after her, and her posthumous memoir, My Remarkable Journey, was released. Sonia Sotomayor 1954. In 2009, Sotomayor became the first Latina Supreme Court justice and third female justice in U.S. history when she was appointed by President Obama. Sotomayor is also the author of 4 books and, as a justice, supports women's issues, criminal justice reform, and legal immigration. Fun fact, Sotomayor decided at age 10 that she wanted to become an attorney because of the legal drama Perry Mason. Marie Curie 1867 to 1934. Not only was French and Polish physicist and chemist Marie Curie the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, but she also won the award twice and is the only woman to do that too. Curie discovered the elements radium and polonium, which became monumental in research for cancer treatment and cures. She also created portable X-ray machines and used them to treat soldiers on the front lines of World War I. Curie's daughter, Eve, wrote Madame Curie, a biography about her mother's life. Georgia Gilmore 1920 to 1990. Gilmore was integral to the Montgomery bus boycotts. She sold meals to fellow activists and returned the funds to the movement, which in turn paid for alternate transportation. Gilmore called her group the Club from Nowhere and remained a community fixture. Her home became an informal restaurant that saw the likes of Robert F. Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson, and Dr. King time and again, including after the 1965 March from Selma. Read more about her in the Potlicker Papers. Ibtihai Muhammad 1985. In 2016, fencing champion Ibtihai Muhammad became the first Muslim woman to represent the U.S. at the Olympics, where she won a bronze medal and was the first Olympian to wear a hijab. That same year, Time included Muhammad on the 100 most influential people list. And 2 years later, Mattel created a hijab-wearing doll in her honor. Read more about Muhammad in her memoir Proud, My Fight for an Unlikely American Dream. Ellen Ochoa 1958. In April 1993, Ochoa became the first Hispanic woman to go into space aboard the Discovery Shuttle. She spent 9 days surveying the Earth's ozone layer and solar activity. Since that mission, she's made 3 additional trips into space. In 2013, she accomplished another major feat by becoming the first Hispanic director and second female director of the Johnson Space Center in Houston.